Hi, everybody. Hey, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to my Conradina chapter of the Native Plant Society. Welcome, welcome. Hope everybody's doing okay and staying healthy. Of course, my name is Carol Hebert, and I'm the current chapter's president. And on behalf of all of the Conradina officers and members, we all wish you a very happy and healthy new year. And hopefully things will get better this year. And the other year is behind us. So good luck for everyone to go through this easier. Um, our meetings will continue to be online all the way through May. We're not getting any, reaction from the library to have an open meeting. And also, with us, we're just feeling like we really just keep our spaces still and keep everybody very healthy. I know they have the um, supposedly the treatment for this COVID-19, but we're just going to, wait our way through and stay happy and healthy as we go. So just be sure to keep checking our Conradina chapter website. And if you would, then go ahead and it's on Conradina.FNPS chapters and it's .org. So just please be sure to double check that. All right, very cool. Um, what else we got? Oh, Florida Native Plant Society promotes the preservation, conservation, and restoration of the native plants and the native plant communities. And as always, I love to introduce our wonderful board members and other officers that really do a lot, even behind the curtains. They really do a lot and help out and, educate people with native plants. Myself, of course, Carol Hebert. My vice president is Joe Sarmiento. Treasurer is Jane Higgins. Treasurer is Jane Higgins, and then the secretary is Kathy Mary. Board members, we have a bunch of different board members. Suzanne Valencia, Martha Stewart, Sharon Dolan, Bo Platt, Jim Baldwin, Karen Moser, Dave Zeiss, Carl Weinbarger, Linda Garassi, Leonard McCrae, Stuart Weinmer, Sarah Morrison, and Cammie Donaldson. And each of those people are just wonderful and help out as best as they can. And we wouldn't be anywhere without that many of a group. And of course, we all miss that public meetings where we would be socializing. We would be having refreshments and giving out ballot tickets to get a free plant. So we look forward to that in the future. Okay. Hopefully this year will be better. We have a wonderful speaker tonight. Robin Perlensky is with us tonight. But we also want to kind of tune you into what's coming up. I hope everyone got the new calendar for 2021 in your stocking, and be sure to go ahead and fill out all the dates. We are always the first Monday of each month, and that's when our general meetings are. So next month in February, it's going to be the 8th, February 8th at 6 p.m. And we have Dr. Jennifer Mitchell, and Jennifer is with the St. John's River Water Management District, and she will also talk about the use of native plants that they are doing with the river management system. So that's really exciting as well. You can always check our website, as I think I've mentioned again and again, as our Conradina.FNPS chapters, plural, chapters.org for details. And also, we have a whole list of where you can get native plants. So you can call them or check their emails and definitely check them online. Tonight, I had an email from Nick Cerrone. Nick is the environmental program coordinator for Satellite Beach. and they're going to be doing a planting in front of the Satellite Beach City Hall. And it will be in honor of Gail Meredith, who was a strong environmental person, and we've lost her. So she was just fantastic. The way she's done so many things. And they're going to be doing a planting of native plants right in front of the Satellite Beach City Hall. And so they are asking for help. I can give you a phone number. You can go to our website, email me. I'm right there as the president under contacts, I believe. And it's on Saturday, January 23rd, and also on January 30th. So you know, have a mask on and keep your distance and bring a shovel. And then I just got it tonight, so I really didn't have time to talk with Nick about it, but we really enjoy Satellite Beach. Really promotes a lot of native plants in a lot of their gardens, and they're right on the beach, and they try to educate people. They have little passes going to homes saying, you know, you have to get rid of that melaleuca, you know, we'll help you if you need any help. So they really are trying to be very aware and make the people more educated as to what they have as their landscape plants. So I wanted to push them. So let's go on to our speaker. Tonight we have Miss Robin. Hi, Robin.
Hi there. Good to see you, Carol.
Great to have you here tonight. I love your topic. I might as well go ahead and just give you your introduction, and then we'll let it go. Let it go into it. I meant Robin's business is called Suraterre Landscape Architecture. I'm sorry, I'm stuttering so much. Let me say that again. The name of it is Suraterre Landscape. I'm getting emails too. Sorry. Suraterre Landscape Architecture. She's thank you. She's based down in Vero Beach, so she's just south of us. But Robin has designed and overseen the installation of functional and lagoon-friendly landscapes for municipalities, commercial property owners, and homeowners, and they live close to or adjacent to the Indian River Lagoon. And that's a great topic to cover because, you know, Brevard County covers the county that has the most coverage of the Indian River Lagoon. So thank you for being here, Robin. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really pleased to be here. I was there a couple of years ago, I think, up at the library, so I can picture a few of your faces. But it's been a while, and I've got a couple more things to show you.
Great. So I'm going to go ahead and cut into your show. Welcome.
Okay. So I'm just so pleased to be here to share about lagoon-friendly landscapes because for me, this has been a bit of a journey. And I'll just explain that just at the beginning so you kind of understand where I'm coming from. I graduated from the University of Florida with a master's degree in 2006, a master's in landscape architecture. And previous to that, I was a teacher. I was an English teacher. And before that, I was in marketing in the hotel business and industry. So landscape architecture was brand new to me, but I knew it's something I wanted to do. And so what I'm showing you here is this is some of the things that interested me greatly when I was doing my studies, was how to build using low impact development strategies. And this is just a quick example, it's a little graphic of a community development that has a very low impact on the land. And this was in opposition to a lot of what they were teaching me and other students, you know, to do community development, high rises, all that kind of stuff. And it was just a kind of a dichotomy of how do we take care of the land and how do we build at the same time and keep our clients happy. So that's where that started. And then a couple years after I graduated, I moved to Vero Beach for a lot of different reasons. But one of the people I met when I my first year when I was here was Paul Dreitenbass. He's an architect, and he's over here on the right. And we lost him 2 years ago to cancer. But he was such an inspiration to me. He was Rotarian of the Year for the state of Florida for his environmental. He got the award based on his environmental work that he was doing in the lagoon. And because he was so such a warm, interesting guy, he educated me on the Indian River Lagoon and all the issues that it was having. So he was responsible for initiating the first seagrass restoration here in Vero Beach off the moorings in the seagrass flats, and we used oysters. We tied the oyster mats together, and we had the whole community involved in doing it. And he called the thing, the project, Rotary Initiative for Submerged Seagrass Awareness. And over time, we found that it's not as effective as we had hoped it would be, but still just, it was a good start. It got a lot of people in our area anyway, very involved and interested in the lagoon. And then at the same time, I was working with, I had some time on my hands because I didn't have a job right away. So I started looking into different things to do, and I got involved with the Historic Society in Indian River County, and I got a grant from the Florida Wildflower Foundation, and we put in 1/3 of an acre. When I say we, the master gardeners here in the county, we put in a 1/3 of an acre of Florida wildflowers, and we had 33 species in 10 by 10 plots, just to kind of see what the whole thing was, an experiment to see what kind of wildflowers would work. And it was fun. It lasted about 2.5 years. And then they got a new caretaker who mowed it all down. He didn't like the look, and thought it was a little too wild for him. So that was very unfortunate, but it sure gave me an education in Florida wildflowers and the ecology here. And then I went to this symposium in 2013, and this was a thing that really got me going, because by then I had started my practice here in Vero Beach, and I had a couple of days to go to this symposium, and it was put on by the county commission. And they had a lot of educators there, scientists there, and they spoke for 2 days. Very scientific, very interesting. I learned a lot. But at the end of the day, the second day, I walked away thinking, that's all good. It's all good information. But I haven't heard one single person tell me, a homeowner, how I can help this lagoon. And here I was, a landscape architect. I thought, what about somebody who doesn't know anything about plants? How can we as individuals help the lagoon? So, see if this works. There. So I realized that because of my education, I knew quite a bit about native plants through working with the Wildflower Foundation and with the Historic Society, and also some of my studies on low impact development when I was up at UF. And I remembered studying about how native plants, the root systems, will take up the pollutants that come off from stormwater. So I started putting some things together in my head, and I thought, how can I address this with my clients? And so I was fortunate enough to make that happen over time. But what I'm going to go through here real quick is just to tell you some of the benefits of lagoon-friendly landscapes, because there's so many. And this is what these are the things I share with my clients, because remember, just about everything I do, I do because I have a client who pays the way. And so my job is to sell the idea, sell the benefit, and help them understand through education how their landscape can help the lagoon. So what it does is it addresses the groundwater supply that we've got a problem with. It improves water quality, supports biodiversity. Lagoon-friendly landscapes can be an amenity in the landscape. It also provides education to others who see it. It adds value to the property, and it promotes public engagement. In other words, a lot of people can get involved in lagoon-friendly landscapes, and these are no masks, but one day we'll be back to that. So when you look at a map of Florida, you see there's water everywhere. There's water around us, there's water in the middle, there's all kinds of water. And we also know that a lot of you know, I'm preaching to the choir here, is that there's more rain in a year than most other states. 50 to 60 inches is pretty average. So how could the water supply ever be a problem in South Florida? Well, we all know that there's a growing demand for these limited water resources. And this one really got me when I found this one out. 3 billion gallons of water are used every day in central and southern Florida. This does not take into account northern Florida, the panhandle. It's just the central and southern. So we're pulling water out of our groundwater, out of our aquifers, and we need to replenish that water. So that dwindling supply and declining quality, when I went to that symposium and I thought about that, I thought there's this dwindling supply of water, the quality is going down so fast, and I thought, you know, lagoon-friendly landscapes could be could help if I could just teach people how to do it. And then I met Dr. Edie Witter, and I don't know how many of you know her or familiar with her, but she is the president of ORCA, the Ocean Research and Conservation Association's founder. And I thought this was a really important quote I found on her website. She said, in the absence of significant industry, the documented decline in the health of the Indian River Lagoon can be traced primarily to non-point source pollution. And that means that there's not one source to blame. We can't point our finger at just one thing and say, let's fix that and we're done. It's each of our actions or inactions that play a role in impacting the quality of the water in our lagoon. And she summed it up by saying that stormwater runoff, sewage spills, and leaky septic tanks are just a few of the suspected sources of pollution. There's others, we know that, but these are the three big ones. So for me, I thought, you know, it's stormwater runoff. That's what I understand. I know it's what I learned. And then I saw, and I spoke with Dr. Witter about their pollution mapping project that they've had ongoing for a number of years. And I'm just going to show you a couple here. If you're not familiar with them, I'll just run it by you real quick. Here's an aerial of the Indian River Lagoon in Indian River County. And this runs from the bridges. There's 2 bridges in Vero. And this is the lagoon between the 2 bridges. And so obviously the red is worst case scenario here, and we've got toxicity is terribly red. The nitrogen levels is right up around this area is the highest. And yes. And then phosphorus. And you can see that students did this mapping along with their scientists. And then this is a closer look. Another project that came a couple years later, done by the St. Ed students. This area south of what we call our Amelie Lloyd Bridge, is the worst in our area. It's the most stagnant. It's got the highest concentrations of nitrogen and phosphorus. And then and there's another image. This was a little bit later. This area right here is an area called the moorings, and I'm going to get into that a little bit later. It's all seawalls, hard edge. This area has a living shoreline. You can see the difference there in the water quality. And then I pulled this off her website. This is Brevard, and this is their mapping, pollution mapping of the river, or the river in Brevard. This is Melbourne down here. Is that right? I think that's Melbourne. So anyway, we got a problem up and down everywhere, and it's obvious in those pollution mappings. So in looking at all of those and thinking about what I learned at that symposium, I thought, you know, I know about the landscape and excessive nutrients. I know about the landscape as far as runoff of soil and debris. When it comes to septic tanks and the contaminants and stuff, I don't know that. So I'm just going to forget this and concentrate on the 2 that I do know about, and maybe I can make some kind of contribution. So I thought about, this is part of my education for my clients. I tell them that they used to call this land the land of flowers back in 1512. And this is kind of it's a recreation of what what used to be here, but we know that rain that fell in this kind of a scenario, it would soak into the earth and it's filtered through the aquifer. And it eventually returns as clean water that replenishes our lagoon. And then I have clients now, and this is again the land of flowers, and a lot of people from Connecticut, New Hampshire, and Illinois, they love it because it's so beautiful, and we have beautiful flowers. Well, this is what a lot of my kind of clients end up having as a landscape. And I ask them, I say, the rain that falls here soaks into the soil. Well, does it? Does it really do that? And then you look at it like this, and no, it doesn't. When we get a first flush of especially a summer rain, the nitrogen and phosphorus, and when you all know this, it ends up in our lagoon. All that excess just rushes right on down. And I have client after client. There's this type of a landscape, this type of a slope along their seawall or along the river. And then this is another common scene that I see in the communities that I go to do design work. We have constant application of pesticides and fertilizers. And then we're told not to touch it, not to walk on it, all this beautiful stuff that they put down. And then on top of it, there's noise pollution to maintain it, constant noise pollution, traffic in the streets. And then we see this nonstop. And I am out and about, I'd say 25 hours out of my 40, 50, 60-hour work week. And this is my typical scene. This is what I see in homes, $2, $3, $4 million homes. And so my job, I've decided, is to be an educator. So I educate my clients as to what all these practices are doing to the lagoon. And I explain to them that when those nutrients go into the water, that increases the algae growth, it shades out the other plants, the grasses particularly, and then uses up the oxygen, the fish die, and we know what happens. So now that's a little background, a little education if you don't know already, and then that's how I educate my clients. So I'm going to share with you just this quickly. This is a client I had in the moorings in South Vero. It's a condo. You see the 3 buildings with a hard seawall, and this is before we did any work. And they called me asking for me to do a renovation of their existing landscape. And when I met with their landscape committee, what they wanted was more of the same, just new. They just felt like these plants were old and they wanted new. And so, so I had a long chat with them, and I showed them this image, and we took a golf cart ride actually around the golf course in their community. And then I showed them the map. I'm not going to go back to it, but the Orca map that showed this golf course. And on the map, all the water around the golf course is blue on the Orca maps. Oh, here it is. I'm sorry, I forgot it was here. So here's the golf course. Good, clean water. And then their community is right here. Can you see my pointer?
Yes.
Okay. So you can see that they're having a major problem in this community, right where they are. So I said, well, we need to do something different with your landscape, or you're going to have more of the same, and you're not going to contribute to helping with the health of lagoons. So this is what we started with again. And the day we started doing tear out, this is what was all along the edge of those seawalls. We had this family of manatee. I worked up this plan with them. It's a pretty basic concept, but my major concept was to show them that they needed to buffer that seawall. I couldn't do anything about the slope. The slope was just slope. The water, it is what it is. But I said we can buffer so that when the rainwater comes off the buildings and it runs down the slope, it's going to be buffered into these plant beds. And it'll reduce the amount of pollutants going into the lagoon. So I just showed them this, and I showed them suggested plants. They did talk about color. Just about everybody there is from the Northeast, lives here. They want color in the winter. They're pretty flowers. So I showed them, what I could find in natives that would allow for flower during the winter time. But but they insisted on throwing in a few non-natives here and there. And so we had a long chat about that, and we came to a compromise.
Would you mind calling off a couple of the plants up in the pictures? I don't think anybody can see.
Oh, yeah.
Just a couple of them.
Muley, dwarf Fakahatchee, coneflower, gaillardia. I used a shore juniper, some kunti. What else do we have? Gumbo limbos. And then a couple of non-natives that they really, really wanted was the fountain grass. But this is we found a way to make this work. Thatch palm, they love. We put those in. We put a lot of sables in. So those are some of the different ones that we considered. So this is a before and after. This was there along the edge of their seawall, a walkway between the two buildings and a pool just on the other side of the fence. So we went from sod to gaillardia, and this is all temporary. I mean, this was just to get it started, and they knew that these plants wouldn't last forever. We did a second planting. I don't have a picture of that second planting, but we ended up eventually using kunti, primarily kunti and shore juniper, but we wanted to get this done quickly, and so I put the gaillardia in. This is when it was being planted. We did add bulbine. It is not a native, but it's drought tolerant, low water usage. So we had a happy client, created this little place for people to sit. So this now is a sitting area, buffers the stormwater, a big improvement, and people were very happy. So this is another before and after. There's muley in here and some dwarf Fakahatchee. There is quite a bit of non-native. But what we've done, I'll tell you what we did with these seeding ones. We have a maintenance plan that I came up with where these are cut twice a year before they go to seed. And over time, what we're doing is taking batches of them out and replacing them with muley. So they're getting used to the look over time, making it gradual. So here's another image when things were young. And this is a little, I think this was the second year. So major improvement, happy dolphins, cleaner water right on the edge. It's much better. So this was the installer, Spencer Porteous, started a lagoon-friendly landscaping Facebook page after doing this project. He had so much fun with it, and he put this picture out, and I thought this was really telling.
Oh, wow.
Very telling.
Before and after, huh?
Before and after, the same. Yeah. So when I go there now, it's always this clear, clean water. And we had these dolphins when they were digging, they could hear the noise, as they were digging, and they came up to see what was happening. I know they're happy. So this is our mantra now when I say that with Spencer Porteous and I, no more sod to the seawall. It's easy to fix. And here's another alternative addition to, I wish I could have done this, but they didn't want to spend the money. But here's my buffer that I created. Even better would be to take that area, cut it out and make a swale. That would be even better. And that would cost some money, but it would be an ideal situation. And you see the water comes off, it would hit the swale, it would infiltrate here. And if it's a heavy rain, it might even migrate here, but it'll still come down. So we've saved the lagoon. And here's just some quick images of how somebody who lives along the lagoon can do this. A 3 to 6 foot edge, tear out the sod. This is what it looked like over there at the points when we tore out the sod. It was amazing. The closer you got to the seawall, the deeper the roots of the sod. In some cases, the sod was 12 inches of root.
Wow.
And you think over those years, I don't know how old that place, maybe it's 20 years old, But all that nitrogen and phosphorus would work its way down and get close to the seawall, and what didn't go over would stay there. And it was amazing. So here's another picture. Oh, and this is another. So what we did once we got that going, neighbors, people on boats, neighbors, they started talking, and these are pictures that Spencer gave me. This was one he did, all these fountain grasses, which I wish he hadn't, but another buffer. Here's another one. I think this one is peperomia. So you see what's happening. These neighbors sit on their porch and look over and say, why does theirs look different? Why don't they have that sod? And then they're out and about and they talk, and the next thing you know, I get a phone call to do another one. So that's the best way I've found to get this going, is word of mouth. Here's a nice one. Just low ground covers, perennials. And the other thing is to keep these plants low to, preserve the view. We don't want to put shrubs. But here's another before and after. This was a large home on a big corner lot. My husband loved the plantings, but he wanted his golf course view. We called this his backyard golf course. And his wife attended one of my talks at the Transforming Landscapes, the Pelican Island, and she insisted. So this was the first year of her seawall planting. So we went from that to that. And she fell in love with pink muley because they come down in November from Chicago.
Oh, perfect.
So that was really good for her. This was another one Spencer did. I don't know what that thing is, but I mean, it was a buffer, and it's a step ahead, is what I keep saying. It's a step ahead of what we had. So this one obviously is quite large. And then this is the mulch that we use on the lagoon edges, because organic mulch, a shredded mulch will go right over the edge in the heavy rain. So we decided to use this shell mulch. The plants are happy with it. Over time, they grow in. You don't even see it. It stays put. It does add a little bit of, raises the pH just a bit, but it's not enough to cause a problem. So as you can see, there's another one, before and after, before and after. Here's an aerial of that one I showed you earlier. See how much buffering. And you think before, how much of that sod was along the edge and all the nitrogen and phosphorus falling into the lagoon. So this is another thing I tell people all the time. Once they see it, they love it. It's just, the visuals do all the work. So the moorings, the director of the moorings community asked that I work with the master naturalist golf course superintendent in creating a little bit of an entrance to their clubhouse. And we put in, it's not all natives because the naturalists didn't want them all, but it was a beginning. And the idea was to call attention to what was next to it. And we put in a rain garden on the golf course. And there was a natural depression in the golf course area off this green, right next to an outfall, a big culvert. And that culvert had no filter. It went directly into the lagoon. So we decided that let's put a rain garden in that will capture and hold the water coming off, any of the water coming off the green, and we'll do our part in helping the lagoon. So this is a picture of the first year. The first year.
Is that our native plant, or is that Coreopsis?
Coreopsis, Gaillardia. This is Society Garlic. He had a girlfriend. I'll tell you, I can tell you a million stories. He had a girlfriend who had a little garden shop, and she came in and put these in.
Next
so
to a state flower.
Yeah, but everything else worked. But you notice in the bottom of the rain garden, we put small rocks. And then also, before we even built it, we dug down about 9 to 12 inches and layered it with sand, coarse sand so that it helped with the infiltration. We didn't really have any problem anyway, but we wanted to make sure. So what used to be just sod with a culvert right here that went right out to that lagoon is now this beautiful garden. So how are we doing on time? Okay.
You're fine.
Okay, so I also have clients that do not live on the lagoon. And this, a lot of times, is what they have in their front yard. There's a swale, and they have these drains. They either have a culvert or there's a drain for this whole stretch of houses. And so people sometimes say to me, well, how can I help the lagoon? I live inland. You know, I'm all the way inland. Is my water, my stormwater going to the lagoon? I don't think it's a problem. And I always tell them, yes, all water goes to the lagoon. We're in the watershed. No matter, we are in the watershed. So yes, this water is going to hit the lagoon one way or another, most likely unfiltered. If the house is built before 1985, then most likely it does not, if it has a swale, that came after, but it doesn't meet the current regulations for holding stormwater on a property. So I have some solutions for them. This is what you usually see in those communities, all the grass clippings after people mow. In a rainstorm, this is where it's going. We've all seen that. So what I tell them and suggest that they put in a rain garden first to see if it's something that they might be interested in, because it's just one small solution for an individual lot. So this one in particular is Spencer's, the gentleman I talked about who did the installations of the moorings property. And so he decided to do it in his front yard. And he lives in a community with all sodded yards. You know, everybody gets one oak tree, that kind of thing. And he decided he would try to do this and see if the community would take notice. So this is it. On the right-hand side, you see he created this drain. This is capturing the water that's coming off the front of his roof. He put the drain underneath. He just dug a hole under his sidewalk. And then it leads out right here to this depressed area that he created. And he put in some, perennials and some grasses and wanted to see what's going to happen. And after about 6 months, this is what he got. And this is his rain garden. The water that comes off the whole front of that house falls here, goes down the rain chain, and goes into that rain garden. And it does not go off the sidewalk or, into the drain that goes wherever. So in doing this, his neighbors started talking to him. And now, I was talking to him the other day, about 12 people in his neighborhood have these. They just love it. And it attracts wildlife. This is a night picture. He just loves this. So you can see from his neighbors, this is the typical yard. And so since this time, his yard is almost all native now. You saw those others. Okay, here is a home that is one of your members in the Atlantic. And after I gave that talk up there in Melbourne a couple years ago, she called and asked if I would come and work out a solution for her front yard. And she and her husband wanted to use the front yard for entertainment purposes, and they wanted to have people who walk up and down the street come over and chat and sit down and enjoy being outside together. Not in the backyard, but in the front yard, which I thought was really fun and unusual. But this was what they bought into. So they wanted all natives. Her husband wanted coconut trees and a few palm trees. So we had a compromise in the middle of the planning process, which I thought was just fine. So we created this entertainment space. This is a fire pit area, rain gardens to capture the rain off of this very large, extensive roof. I haven't been back, so I'm hoping maybe she'll share these with you over time. But this is what it looked like the day of installation.
What a pretty pathway through there. People must have been really entertained to just walk up there. And it's not a straight line, and it just draws them in there.
This was a walkway to the entrance, to the door. But this was going to be a fire pit sitting area, and over here, I think a couple of chairs and a little couch settee area. This is
so much warmer. Yeah, it looks really warm, instead of those little circles that were there before. Now it's really, oh, come on over and just walk in. Yeah.
See, that was the idea. And so another neighborhood with lots of sod. But just when people start doing something different, people start talking. And I found that that's the best way to get the word out about using landscape to help the lagoon is get it out there, start having people see it, move around in it. I love it when it's in the front yard. And people will say, hey, I'll give it a try, even if it's a small corner, the backyard maybe, but just to even get started, it just thrills me when people give it a try to put some natives in and do something that's good. So this is another client that I had who lives on the lagoon. This is what they had bought into. They just purchased this house, and they had all these lovely little plants and lots of sod. So they wanted all native. This is a plan we did just for this small part of the backyard. On the lagoon, closer to the lagoon side, we did an extensive native planting last year once he got used to this. Now this couple is from Wisconsin. They just moved here. They didn't know one single plant. They didn't know they didn't know the difference between a coconut and a sable. I mean,
well, that's great. You gave them our state tree.
Yeah, and they so back from there to this, and they were thrilled.
What are the other plants? Oh, Stokes aster. I love it.
So this is one of my favorites. They've got these everywhere back there, and they just never stop looking happy. So what was the question?
I was just curious, what are the plants along with the sable palm? Like the green next to the edges of, I don't know if that's handy to know.
These are the Stokes. Some of these have gone by now. This has been about 2 years, and they replaced them. They changed them. Last year, right before COVID hit, they went over to over on the West Coast, and he got a trailer. And he loaded up with plants and came back.
Wow.
With, what do I do with these? so we had a couple of days. Anyway, the pineland croton's in there. Pineland lantana, I mean. There's some white. These are
those buttonbush?
No, these are small Simpson stopper.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
they were small. But now they're way up here. There's a lot of Kunti somewhere in here. Sorry. Let me go to the next one, if you don't mind, because I got more. Here's another example. This was a similar kind of situation. This lady wanted a rain garden. She had a driveway, a circular drive, and she said, I want a rain garden right smack in the middle to show my neighbors how important this is. Well, this little house was the smallest one in the whole block, and I think it was from the 1950s. And they put more money in that rain garden than anything else. It was amazing. But this is the size. This is half the size of that rain garden. It turned out just incredibly beautiful. And now all these neighbors are just talking about it, putting natives, this one across the street just changed up all of this and put a buffer along their swale. This is a picture, I think about a week or two later when things started to bloom, is rosinweed. And then you can see their neighbor look behind. I think it's a riot. I didn't plan that. It just happened that way.
That is a beautiful, candid picture of what should be done and what should not.
Yeah. And this mulch is a crushed shell. This is a small crushed shell, and I love the rocks. I love how the rocks are in there, and it helps to channel the water. This is another way I've used rain gardens is to educate people. I was the president of Sunrise Rotary Vero Beach last year, and we worked with the schools and we put in 2 rain gardens. This one is at a middle school here in town. We got families involved. There was a large drain, and so what we did was we put a berm around the drain to stop the water from going into the drain. So in other words, it would come down and infiltrate here, percolate, and not go into the drain. And it was more of a demonstration garden than anything. And over time, the students put some a couple of science classes. I think they went through the butterfly cycle with the kids and stuff, but they ID'd all the plants, and it was fun. We also put in a sign, an interpretive sign, and I'll get to that in a little bit. And so then I also wanted to show you, these are not Florida, obviously, but this is not a new idea. In the Chesapeake Bay area, in Virginia, Maryland, rain gardens, buffering for stormwater are big, and it's been big for a lot of years. And so we are so far behind here in Florida. You see, these are just typical. This one I think is in Michigan. People who live in a watershed that's getting polluted, they get it, they understand, and so they take care of their properties through a sustainable, functional way. So here's some more examples of how a school, this is a larger rain garden in a school up north, I think. This one is a little more structural looking, of a parking lot, grabbing that stormwater coming off the parking lot and handling all the pollutants that way. Here's a median. Here's a big swale in a community. This one is in Seattle. And if you notice, here's the original curb. They dug out the asphalt, put in a curb with cutouts. So this area is a rain garden. It's depressed. It's lower than the asphalt. So the water goes in here, percolates down, and it's also an amenity in the community. So it's a bit of an investment for the community, but it's doing a great job. Here's another example, before and after. This is what we should be, in my opinion, we should be doing this, especially in the US 1 corridor in all of Florida. I think it would be a nice thing to do.
Absolutely. Great idea.
I just think whenever I go up US 1, no matter where in the state of Florida, this is what I see. And I think I can just picture the flowers. It's like, let's do it. So I'm not going
to interrupt for just a second, Robin. We have a couple of people commenting about how they love those crushed shells that you use.
Oh.
In the previous pictures.
Yeah.
And so they were just curious if you have a source or where you could recommend that they could get those.
You can, if you ask your landscape contractor or a nursery, they can source it. The small stuff comes from South Florida. So there are dealers. There's one called Yard Co. There's another one I think called Big Stop. And I think that one's retail. And you can buy them or you can ask your contractor to bring it in. And it comes in different sizes. It comes very small crushed where you could walk on it in bare feet. And then you saw the other one earlier that's the larger, almost like oyster shell size.
Like shells, yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. And there's probably even different places up here in Brevard too. Because, okay, well, thank you.
Yeah. A landscape supply. If you just Google landscape supply in Florida, and they'll come up with a couple.
Excellent.
There's not a lot. So this just shows in a parking lot situation how the water. This is an easy fix for the old parking lots. You can capture it here. There's a pathway. Anything extra goes into a bioswale. This is the kind of work that I love to do, and I was able to do one job like that. Here's some more examples. This is what it looks like. And you might, if you're driving around Mount Dora area, up in that Central Florida, Gainesville area, this is what they're doing. They're retrofitting some of their older communities with rain garden, I call them a bump out. and it's just become a part of the landscape. This is in I believe Northwest, might be Washington or Oregon, but it's to see these, and this is just part of the landscape. They don't even, it's not like, oh, it's different. It's everywhere. Maryland, this one's from Maryland.
Wow, that is just fantastic. When the water and the rain and showing what its purpose is. This
Yeah.
is a great picture.
But you see this too, it's cut out. So
Yes.
this is new. This has been repurposed. This used to be across, this was a full curb. This used to berm, and you see these in a parking lot, even the back, you see it. See how it berms up? What they did was they took out the trees, they depressed this area, opened up the curb, and then planted with plants that can take the water, that can handle water, for short periods of time. So it's an easy fix for any city, any commercial application. It's a fix for what we have now. Here's another one. I think this is beautiful. Here's a real artistic one. I'm not sure where this is. I just love this one. But these are big bioswale areas, so the water goes down, 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 down. And here's a simple one in the neighborhood. Same thing. They retrofitted what they had. They cut out the curb. They dug this out. So now the water comes down and is held here, and it comes in this way. So they're capturing that water before it goes there in that drain. Here's a great one. I love this one. There's another one where the neighborhood took care of it on their own. They created a swale, capturing that dirt and grease and all that. This is the very first one in the United States. A landscape architect in Seattle came up with the idea, and this is the first one. I love this one. This is what it looks like. Yeah, I think I showed you that one. So here's some other ones. Commercial, seen downtown. So as you go around, travel, if we ever get back to traveling again, you'll if you go in the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, Texas, Northwest, Michigan area, Illinois, this is very common to see this kind of stormwater treatment in a city situation. Here's an apartments. I love this one. This is in front of a city hall. I don't know where, I can't remember. But the same thing, they retrofitted it. They cut it all out and created this great rain garden. So real quick, another thing that's very important with any kind of lagoon friendly or rain gardens is interpretive signage. And this is one that I did a long time ago in front of a library in Vero Beach. And we made this one a Florida friendly, just because we couldn't get an all native pass with the master gardeners. But this is what it looks like at planting. And we got the signage, and it's full now. This was like 4 or 5 years ago. And the sign is placed right here. And so everybody goes in and out of that library, gets to read the sign, get familiar with what they're looking at. And I just love the signage. I think it's so important part of the education. This is the rain garden sign that I made for the one in the moorings, and I've since done a number of other rain gardens, and I always use this graphic, and I just change out the logo, because in my mind it's like branding, and the more people see this sign, the more often they see it, they'll start recognizing it as a rain garden, and this is a different working landscape. Here's one I found in October. I was up in DC, and I saw one at the Botanic Garden up near the Capitol, and of course they had their sign. And here's some other signs from other areas, different ways to show people stormwater should not be ignored. And then more locally, there's other signs. People do different organizations give awards for native plants, that landscape, and also Florida friendly and that kind of stuff. So there's lots of organizations that are doing their part in helping. And then I also tell people about incentives, because I've worked with municipalities, and trying to explain to them that we don't have to wait until there's enough money in the coffers. There's lots of grants and awards out there that we could utilize and get our hands on to give to people to incentivize them to do more responsible landscaping. So these are just some of the examples of other towns and areas that are doing something similar. There's also grant money that's out there that's available for wise landscaping, and the DEP gave, this was more than $800,000 for this Veterans Memorial Stormwater Improvement Park. They didn't use all natives. You can see there's some big sod areas, but that was where they had to have a lawn area apparently. But stormwater projects, there is money for that. And so if you're aware of it and you can tell your representatives that you want more of it in a city situation, let them know, because the money's there. When I was Sunrise Rotary president, we started a residential rain garden incentive program for people who lived in the city. And we had a couple people take us on. And the idea was, you put in a rain garden, we'll give you $250 back to help you get started. And we also offered a free workshop. We offered free advice, all that kind of stuff. So trying to get the word out. And this is kind of the stuff that we shared with them in the workshop, was how to build it, how the rain garden works, that kind of thing. Location, soil, we talked about plant selection. So plant selection, I'm gonna go real fast, but this is the stuff y'all been waiting for. This is a list this is all from Northwest District, University of Florida. I just grabbed it off their website. But a lot of these plants will work here as well. There's three different areas in a rain garden. There's the basin that gets the wettest and it stays wet the longest. So certain plants can tolerate water, wet feet, I call it, better than others. And then the lower bank plants, the ones on the side and even on the top of the bank, those don't tolerate water as much. And here's a decent list. And then when I was at the FAN show, Florida Association of Native Nurseries, I gave a talk with, I can't remember his name now, I'm sorry, but he's with Stone Shovel Designs over on the West Coast. He came up with these plant lists and great images, and I wanted to share them with you. So we did this talk together. But this sedge is great for the basin. Okay, it would take over, but if that's what you want to do, it's a good one.
And it blooms for so long. It's a good long bloomer.
Oops, I lost one. Yes, it is. And then a viburnum. I mentioned I would not put hedges in a rain garden just because most of my clients are always looking for a view. They have a house because of a view, but in some areas maybe not. But this viburnum will work in the basin or along the side. Buttonbush is another one that's a great butterfly attractor, but it's also good for a rain garden. This one is fantastic. This is my go-to twin flower. I just love it. It tolerates sun and shade. It can be more of a ground cover. It can just kind of stand alone. I just love this little plant.
Twin flower, gorgeous, gorgeous.
Yeah, just love it. This one I'm not so familiar with. Any of you?
Yeah, that's a native also.
Okay, I think
root they call it. Oh, yours has corn snake root.
Snake root he calls it. I'm not familiar with it, but I love it.
Yeah, very pretty. It has some thorns, I think, on the side, on the stem.
Oh, does it? Okay. Well, this one, you know, they kind of get out of control, but they're great in a rain garden. Just great. There's another one, spider lily. Swamp fern, if you can find it. It's good for rain garden. Milkweed. This gold solidago.
Ooh,
Berm, the upper berm. This is great. It doesn't like to get wet feet. The coonties, they're great along the outside edge. What I found with coontie, some of my clients still use irrigation. So I work with the irrigation contractor, and we have to reset the irrigation away from the rain garden areas and the native plant areas. But some of them insist on just irrigating the heck out of Coontie. And then
That's the rain garden.
I know. And the next thing you know, you got a Coontie that's like 4 feet tall. I think you got to stop irrigating it.
That was nice, though. You had a little Attila butterfly.
You love that? Uh-huh.
Yes.
And then the horse mint, of course. So all of these make for great plantings on the lagoon edge or in the rain garden. Love this one, the Georgia basil. And then the beach tea. This one I have a hard time finding, but I love it. So you see here's a shell. They use a shell rock. Love grass. We incorporated that later into that one planting I showed you with the sable palms, a couple from Wisconsin. This is one of their favorite plants. Southern river sage. And this is the muley when it's beautiful. And okay, softleaf coffee. I'm going to go quicker. Tropical. I love these. The starry
We're on our topic now, where everybody's Googling it and looking at the flowers.
Oh, good. This one is fantastic. I just love this one. I love that it gives, it's tall. There's not a lot of plants that have this height on them, and these blooms stay for the longest time. And then again, mimosa. I haven't had a whole lot of luck over here with mimosa, and I don't know if it's because of the salt or the clients are just impatient. I have one or the other, but I try it, but I can't seem to get it to go. And we also have a lot of rabbits. I don't know about you, but we have a lot of rabbits. And I put in mimosa, and the rabbits they tell their neighbors there's a smorgasbord over here. So that disappears quickly. These are one of my favorites. Stokes aster. The black-eyed Susans do beautifully around a rain garden. See the beautiful mix. I just love these too. And then again, the St. John's wort. This is a great one. So these are saltbush. This gets kind of tall, but it's a nice anchor plant. And then here's a bunch of perennials. The names, all of these are just wonderful options, experiments. So anyway, I'm at the end, so I'm just going to review real quickly that lagoon-friendly landscapes have many, many benefits. One of my favorite benefits is to get other people involved. When you have a landscape that looks different from your neighbor or from most of your neighbors, it gets people talking, and it gets people sharing, and even sharing plants. And I just love that about native plants and about functional landscapes. So this to me tells us why we're doing what we're doing, especially here in our area with the lagoon. And we're doing it to keep these guys happy.
Oh,
So-
round of applause. Very nice. Very nice. A lot of great information too, Robin. Just gives everyone something to think about for their own yard. The little talk on the side, we're just saying how the pictures are beautiful. I want all shells at my location as well. So they were really commenting wonderfully and supporting all the topics that you had. I found those water gardens the best. Those really need to be addressed and capture that water.
Yeah. It's amazing how much pollutants are in our stormwater. It's absolutely mind-boggling how much nitrogen and phosphorus and all the heavy metals that are on our roofs, and then on our sidewalks, and on our our streets, and all of that unfiltered going into the lagoon is huge. And we can do something as simple as a rain garden to help.
Absolutely. And, we're just one county north of you, but Brevard County did vote to throw some money into that, getting the water treatment before going into the lagoon. So there's projects that Marine Resources Council has helped with, our Natural Resource Department for the county. So, because of course, as we mentioned before, Brevard has the most frontage against the Indian River Lagoon. So we really got to get on it because we're just letting all that flow. But it was wonderful how you had, even for the, I could say, expensive housing, to just give it that little edge. Take out the grass right from the edge and give it that beautiful filter, like in the picture right there, because you can see the water, the one on the right. And it's just going to stop it, slow it down, and absorb prior to heading mostly into the lagoon or any other water source.
Right. It's just, and most people who see it, my experience is, like in this particular community with the, with the marina, most of the people who live there, they don't understand why it is what it is, why this is here. They just like the look. They like that the plants are moving. The wind is blowing, so the plants are moving. and if you think about it, that seems like a natural thing for plants to do. But what I come up against is when people put a croton or non-native, a real hard plant. One of the one I hate the most is the arpicola. But it always looks the same no matter what time of year, what day of the year. When the wind blows, when the wind doesn't blow, it's exactly the same. And they thought they liked it. But when I put in plants that move, that change with the seasons, they're just so thrilled. I just love that part of it. And a lot of people from the north who come from the northern or Midwest, they don't realize that Florida has seasons. And so I think they don't think about it, and they just think we're always like this. This is how we always are, and always hibiscus are always in bloom, and so to introduce natives to them, or plants that have a purpose, they actually learn to appreciate it, because that's where they come from. They come from an area where plants change. And so they learn to appreciate it, and then they learn about the function of them. And I just love how they're learning. Part of that comes from, I'm a former educator. But anyway, I just love that part of it.
Well, that's the best, starting with education. And I love those little word of mouth where the neighbor comes over and, well, what happened to that? That looks really pretty. I might have to do it in my yard. So that's a great way to keep native plants really in everybody's thought process. So, all right, Robin, well, we really thank you. I've had tons of good comments on the side. Great presentation. Thank you. You gave me a lot of new ideas.
Good.
Thank you, Robin. Excellent presentation. So we're really happy that you were able to, get with us and give us this information, even just one county down. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Carol. It was a nice opportunity. I appreciate it.
Okay. Well, great. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in to us. Just be sure to check our website for Jennifer Mitchell with the St. Johns River Water Management will be next month. So we just want to thank Robin again for coming here. And we want everybody to have that New Year's resolution and plant a nice native plant in their yard. So thanks everybody for attending Plant Native. Bye.
Bye.